What's that? Howls from the woods, movement under the water, something that you notice out the corner of your eye, but you look, it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk, Down Under. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day and had a good work day, work week, and all the other fun stuff in between and everything like that. And I hope everyone has something fun planned for the weekend. And all the fun schniz in between. So today we're just gonna get right into it then. Today we're gonna be going of the part 3 and final part of our Australian cryptid extravaganza 3-parter episodes. So first episode we talked about Megalania, second one we talked about the Yowie, and now we're kind of just gonna go over some of the not as much lesser known or not as much like information about them or physical evidence or really much that could be made into a single episode. But instead, let's just talk about them like what information is about them, and then just kind of just do like a whole remaining bunch of them here and there. But I guess, yes, before we do start, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. My goal for the year is by the end of the year to get to 100 subscribers. And at the moment of recording, we are at 14. So let's get it up to that number, because 100 would be pretty good for me. And honestly, probably way more than I would be expecting for the show to even get to, but would still be pretty cool nonetheless. And of course, also follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. And, that's where I post stuff that I talk about here in the episode. A few of them I gotta catch up on, but, not almost there. Anything else there? No. Yeah, that stuff I save for the end and stuff like that. So, okay. So in that case, then, we're just gonna get right into it itself. I gotta get to one. Okay, cool. There it is. Okay, perfect. And okay. Okay, so as we've talked about before in the last 2 episodes. Oh, excuse me. Australia is a very, very vast continent. Most of the population of people only live all along the coast and a bit more on the coast, but not really that far. Like, as far as I'm aware, there's really no one like civilization that lives out in more of the central part of Australia. If anything, maybe the only people that might be living out there are Aboriginal people, the locals of Australia, but that would pretty much be it. And so with most people living on the coast, the coastal areas, and no one really living in the central part of Australia, who knows how many cryptids, or not really cryptids, but how many just either unknown animals or rare animals, or just imagine how many other things could be in the central part of Australia that not many people know about. I mean, because to obviously report seeing something, you need people for that to happen. And if there's no people for there to be, they can't report anything. So if you can say that for like a lot of Bigfoot encounters, like, oh, why are there not all these people, and like why are there no encounters in like the central part of the United States? It's like, well, there's not a lot of people there, and for there to be reports of Bigfoot, there have to be people, and there's not. Doesn't mean they're not there. There's just not enough people there to see them. So you could make the same argument now, for Australia, since on how remote it is. Now, does that say 100% that all these are real? No, but I think at least adds a little bit more of probability to a point of like, it's kind of like the whole thing with the ocean. Like, we will probably never know exactly of everything that lives in the ocean, because unfortunately we can't look in every single direction at the same time in pitch blackness of the ocean. not possible. So, yeah, again, obviously, it's kind of hard to compare the ocean to land and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Australia is a pretty big continent, and it would not be easy to explore a lot of the central part of it. Actually, hold on, I gotta Google something real quick. Australia size compared to U.S. Okay, so yeah, looking at this right here, it's showing like the United States overlapped with Australia. Like what would it look like here and there? And Australia is about America. The United States is it's pretty close to being the same size. But so now it's imagine a single continent. Imagine as a comparison. Imagine if in in the United States, the only states that people lived in were all the states that surrounded the outer bordered states of the United States, and then all of like the center states like the like Arizona, Nevada, the Dakota, and everything. All imagine all like a lot of central states, even to a point of maybe even Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Yeah, there we go. I know states. But yeah, imagine if those were not populated at all, and obviously, people wouldn't be there. Australia is a very big continent. Again, this is roughly the size of the United States, so it wouldn't be as hard to believe that people only live on the borders of it, and there's like barely anything in the middle. So, who knows what kind of creatures could be hiding amongst in the middle of Australia that that people just don't go to and can pretty much have been undisturbed for a very long time. What is this? Okay, nothing important. So, on our list, we are going to start off with probably one of the like on the levels of like I think it may not exactly 100% be on the levels of well up there of like Megalania, the Yowie, and stuff like that. But the one cryptid that is pretty well known in the fabric of Australia is the bunyip. Stories of the bunyip go back tens of thousands of years, but from the Aboriginal people that lived there, and then sightings of the creature didn't start until the 1800s when English settlers came. Now, what is a bunyip? Well, there's a lot of very interesting depictions. No, not depictions. No, descriptions. Yeah, descriptions of the creature to where it looks like a. Let's see, history. No, we don't want that. Okay. It had a wide variety of creature of looking like some sort of like giant lizard thing to being like some sort of like mythical beast, and a lot of the depictions of it make it seem like it's like this very weird looking creature. Some stories have it where it has like these long tusks and like these sharp claws, and it lives in along the rivers and lakes of parts of Tasmania of Australia. Oh dang! Wow. Okay, hold on a second. I'm a big dummy. This will not be the final part of our Australian cryptids, because there is one more cryptid. Probably, I would honestly consider probably one of the most popular cryptids ever that lives in Australia. And so we are actually going to a part 4 of Australian cryptids. I am so silly and dumb that I forgot about it. And what is the other cryptid? Have to tune in next week to find out. So, no, we are not done with Australian cryptids. I am so dumb that I completely forgot about this one. And probably one of my favorites, too. I think I probably enjoyed this one a bit more than the Yowie itself. But you want to know what it is? Listen until next week. Wow, how did I forget that? Anywho, and so a lot of some of these these stories and like paintings and drawings of Aboriginal people interacting with the bunyip makes it seem like the bunyip was a creature to be feared by the Aboriginal locals. You know, it had like these sharp fangs and like attacking people and terrorizing them and everything. So they did not seem very fond of the bunyip. But and yet though, the bunyip is such an interesting integral part of Australian culture that I'm looking at a bunch of them right now. There are stamps from Australia that have the bunyip. Now this one I kind of like the look of this one right here. I've seen this one a lot, very commonly with any picture that depicting of the bunyip, and this it kind of seems like this hairy armadillo duck feet kind of thing. It's just a little hodgepodge of creatures kind of thing. That's how a bunyip has always been described as looking like that as such. Let's see. Where else there was? Oh yeah, and also, the name bunyip actually translates to scary monster or evil spirit. So, the Aboriginal people have really not been a fan of this creature. It has terrified them, and it just showed that they were just never they were just never a fan of the creature, and obviously terrified them and everything. Now, there's not, even to this day, there's not that many sightings of the bunyip. It seems to be not as relevant anymore. But but still, people say they see it here and there, and stories of it and stuff like that still pass on to these days. So interesting cryptid nonetheless, and it would be pretty cool if something like that exists. Hopefully not as dangerous as people say it is, but So the next one is this is one that's interesting because like the United States has this, England has this, Europe, and that is the whole Black Panther phenomenon. And stories go back to it being like back from the 1830s. Now, you'll notice something with a lot of these cryptids that start popping up, that sightings of the creatures of some of these creatures start popping up around the 1800s, and like I mentioned before, that's right around when English settlers started coming over here, and so that's when obviously these stories would then start coming to play. Like these people now seeing them because again, there are now people there to report these things. Now, like for the Aboriginal people, creatures like this and everything have been known as as it's just like second nature. It's like they are aware of it. It's nothing like, oh, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, the bunyip, oh yeah, I saw that thing over there. It's like kangaroos to us. So it's a very well known thing with them, and so Black Panthers, is again that generic thing of like a big black cat, like a panther, and stalks the sides of farms, and attacks livestock and occasionally people. It's the same thing with stories in North America and England. So Australia is not invulnerable to also having the whole Black Panther sightings happen as well. And one of it probably is the possible explanation for a lot of the Black Panther sightings all over the world is that they were actually possibly exotic animal traders that escaped, and then just went on from there. Now people could argue it's like, oh well, that can't be really a thing. Sorry, moving a little bit. That can't really be a thing because like there needs to be like the whole breeding population and all that. Yeah, sure, and maybe somehow they either keep getting away or stuff like that. But kind of the whole Black Panther thing is obviously nothing too magical about it. It's just one of those things that here's an animal that people are aware of, but it shouldn't be here, and that's what the whole mystery behind it is. On, you know, are these actually big cats, and why are they here? Because they are not supposed to be. Because as far as I'm aware, no, there are no big cats known to live in Australia. Technically, I don't think. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think there's even any cats in there, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. So yeah, so the Black Panther thing's pretty interesting. Again, nothing like huge in the sense of like a bunyip or some of the other stuff we'll be talking about, but still interesting nonetheless that even Australia is not safe from the whole big black cat phenomenon. So the next one, this is actually one I actually did not know about. So it's kind of interesting. The Hawkesbury River Monster. It's about 5 to 9 feet long, as some of the stories say, and it's kind of like a dark gray eel-like body creature. So like a sea serpent or just a very big eel, which is also a possibility too, because there are some species of eel, like the conger eel, that do grow pretty big. Now, I don't. I just know that is a thing for some of these eel for different possible lake monsters around the world and sea serpents, and I don't 100% know exactly where conger eels live. So there's a chance they may not even be anywhere near here, but I'm just throwing it out there for some possibility. Um, Also in the there in Australia, it is also known as the Mooney monster. That's an interesting name. And oh, look at that! Reports go back to the 1800s, but rock art, like some of the other cryptids in Australia, rock art goes back 3,000 years. So again, something to then think about when it comes to these things, that Aboriginal people are talking about these things or depicting them in their art and everything like that, and which pretty much shows like to them this is a real creature, and it's like real enough that obviously they're painting onto the rock walls for the art. Now and then it just shows it's like, all right, so they're seeing something that is real to them, and they are depicting it on these walls for reasons just excuse me, that's what they do. The people do cave painting art to tell stories, or pretty much kind of tell like their history, or like oh this for a multitude of different reasons. But the interesting thing that they like doing is that they like to show like the local wildlife. So if some of the cave pigs in Australia have like modern animals like kangaroos, and while in North America they show like deer and stuff like that. And then of course you get the creatures, like the ones of them doing like the Bigfoot, the Megalania, the Hawkesbury River Monster, other stuff like that. So they're depicting these things on the walls, like showing like these are like real to life creatures for them. Which I know I've said this before any times like this, but it's very interesting when we have that, because it shows that they are seeing something that is real to them, and it seems to be bigger. Or it seems because obviously if they live in Australia, they are fully aware of what like the species of snakes look like and everything, and kind of shows. Interesting. So testing the mic real quick, and that sounds how it seems to sound the best. So yeah, so they're obviously telling the story, depicting these creatures that they see, and as unreal as some of these things may seem, they obviously to them, these are real things, and it kind of shows like, all right, now whether or not some of these cryptids that are still around today, kind of thing, I think should definitely be it should actually be noted that this is a thing, and be like, okay, let's let's be open-minded about it a little bit, because if there's these depictions of these creatures, there must be some sort of truth behind it. So pretty interesting. An eel-like sea serpent-like creature in the lakes in rivers and the nearby oceans of Australia. Let's see. What do we got next? So, all right. So the next one I'm going to see on. Okay. So the next one is, another thing of what I like about Australia and just cryptozoology in general is when we talk about, there are stories of living dinosaurs like Mokalian Bembe and Megalania and species that should not be alive anymore or anything like that. But Australia is definitely part of that world that has some possible dinosaur like cryptids, and this one is called Barunjor. Hopefully there's not some other thing in there that I'm not fully aware of. So the sightings of the creature are a bit more recent. They go back to the 1950s into the late 1980s, and they describe it as pretty much like a T-Rex kind of looking dinosaur, around 20 to 25 feet long. I couldn't really find anything talking about its height, so if it's 20 to 25 feet long, I would probably be guesstimating between like 7 to maybe 10 feet tall, maybe a little smaller. Maybe a little small, probably a little bit smaller than that. Because I think something with its height, I won't say that because I'm not 100% sure if I'm even correct with that. But yeah, so they talk about this creature that, terrorized people, ate kangaroos, livestock, and was just a very, scary grid looks, with a very scary animal to deal with. The locals in that time called it old three toes, meaning that the tracks that it laid probably had left, three claws, and that's how they were able to like depict it, like, oh, the creature was here, like it's like, oh, old three toes was here and everything. Sorry, it's late for me. And so we have these stories of the cryptid and everything like that of it, and then it's also terrorizing the people and everything, and then of course the sightings then just stop. So it's one of those things that could they've been misidentified and stuff like that, and kind of going back a little bit to any sort of cryptid, especially in Australia, or when new people start moving there, like settlers and from other parts of the world and everything, and they see animals that they may not be fully aware of, understand, and then make them seem a lot more extravagant than they are. Like the biggest lizard they have in Australia is the parenti, and they can be like okay size, nothing that like anything like too crazy, but like definitely something you really want to mess with because they're fast little buggers, but nothing that like they could like easily like take down a kangaroo or anything like that. Nothing, they're not that big or anything like that. They're pretty lanky little things. They're like the smaller, cuter cousin of like a Komodo dragon, and even then Komodo dragons have a cute little look to them. When you look at them in the right light, they just look like you just want to rub their chin. They got a very chin rubbable face. Anywho, getting all sidetracked here. So some of the explanations that people had for it was maybe that people were seeing like a possible like a parenti or something like that. But even though their feet, I believe, do not have more than three claws, and again, they're not very big, so they would be leaving big tracks. So it's like, okay. So, and then of course the sightings, when they say this, sightings went back to the 1980s, and then meaning that the sightings after that then stopped, and there hasn't been anything since then. So it's like, okay, well, are there some sort of weird misidentifications, or maybe the creature really did exist, it died out, so that was like the last one or two of the creature, and then it just died there and is now extinct. Who's to say? But again, central part of Australia, no one's there, so there could be a lot of stuff that could be hiding in some of those parts of Australia, even the parts where there are people and stuff like that. And I'm going through these really quickly. The other interesting thing that I wasn't able to re-find this time, but I do know I heard stories of there being another Australian cryptid, kind of like little like velociraptors or little raptor-like creatures. Now, in reality, velociraptors actually aren't as big as Hollywood depicted it, like in Jurassic Park. Velociraptors were actually the size of like a dog. They really are like, I think even in some cases like the size of a turkey. They really weren't that big. They weren't like the human-sized, terrorizing like dinosaurs that the people may seem out to be. A lot smaller, still not, still dangerous, because they are still clever. As they believe that they were as clever. Now, are they as clever as they were in the movies? We will never know. We could use all the science in the world, but excuse me, sorry, unless we are able to, travel back in time to see these things ourselves, we can make all the guesses, but we will probably never know what dinosaurs actually did and what they truly did look like and everything. But yeah, so there were apparently these stories of these little, like little velociraptor-like creatures, like these low to the kind of low to the ground on two legs, long tails, scaly and very fast, just going like just scurrying and running by really, really quickly. And so that's they kind of hearing stories of that. Nothing too much I heard these days. This was the only cryptid, the Berunger, that I saw that has actually had some interesting, had some information behind it than compared to that when I tried looking into it. Now, I wasn't sure to bring this one up because it's not more so like a cryptid per se. It's more of a phenomenon that happens in Australia. And I've heard some stories of people who say that if you experience it, it's like bad or dangerous. And I am referring to the Min Min lights. All right, so real quick, I'm just going to read this thing right here, kind of just talking about it a little bit, what the Min Min lights are. The origins of the Min Min lights. Quote, the name Min Min itself carries a fascinating story. In 1918, it was christened after the small Min Min settlement and hotel. It was situated between the two northern Queensland towns of Bullia and Winton in Australia. The legend surrounding its name involves a stockman riding along the Kennedy Development Road, passing a now vanished Min Min Hotel. Suddenly, a mysterious light materialized above the graveyard behind the premises, forever etching the name Min Min into the annals of Australian folklore. Today, Bullia has become a magnet of Min Min sightings, drawing curious travelers from around the world. End quote. So there's like this very weird, strange phenomenon where it involves like these orbs that seem to move around very quickly, going up and down directions, zigzagging, dancing around, going around with all these crazy things, but also being like very fast. Now people can be like, oh, well, can those just be aliens? Well, maybe. And the fact that they seem to happen in these same areas like a lot. Now, the other interesting thing about these is that I've heard stories of people seeing the Min Min lights and people being terrified of them because sometimes there are these beings that are seen that come from them, and apparently people have been dangerous. Telling me sort of these mysterious, like little beings that come from them. Sometimes people go missing. Sometimes they just people tell stories of when you get close to it. It's like it's burning, like a burning sound and things like that. So, actually, wrote an answer. Could tell this. The voice in power life. Okay, here, real quick. Before we actually continue, I'm looking at because I was trying to see if there's anything more specific of like the Min Min lights of like how they are dangerous and stuff like that. But I actually found the story of someone who experienced them. So I'm gonna read this person's story because stories are always interesting. So this person's talking about the Min Min lights. Quote: Min Min lights have always been a part of my life. I grew up hearing stories about them, and I've experienced the lights firsthand. I'll tell you story below. The main thing I've been told is that anyone in the far north Queensland will tell you is do not follow them. They're dangerous and will lead you into danger. I remember one story of a mate of mine who was driving on a country road with a dirt surface. He's lived on this road for up until then almost all of his life. After a while, he noticed a light that was following him. He thought it was a car or a motorcycle behind him, but that didn't make sense to him because when you drive on a dirt road from where I'm from, you wait for the dust to settle before you follow a car across the dirt surface in case another vehicle is approaching in the opposite direction. Mind you, it was night though. As he was driving, he noticed a light wasn't following the bends and the turns of the road, but rather he was going in a straight line, like when it could be cut through from one part of the road to the other. This began to distract him and began to focus more on the light rather on the road. He smashed his car into a tree because of this. It seems okay and everything. So, end quote. And so there are people saying stories that danger will come from them if you pay to like this person, if you pay too much attention, you may run into some possible problems. And so it's pretty. And then of course these mysterious beings and stuff like that. And apparently, people we're having, as you see, are told to, um, told to ignore them, don't follow them, just mind your own business, and they won't cause you any problems at all whatsoever. So, always very interesting that a phenomenon like this has been, and apparently even some parts of the world also experience these min lights, but Australia seems to be the main culprit behind it. And the fact that there are stories of like these possible beings that are seen with it that are possibly also dangerous, or they are just dangerous in general, and you're told not to follow them. It's just a very interesting and adds some adds obviously like so many things, adds more questions than there are answers. And so of course that's how it's always going to be with these things. We always get more answers. We always get more questions long before we get any sort of answers at all, if even a little bit. So let's see. Goodness gracious, I kind of just went through everything already. All right, let's see. All right. So, yeah, so Australia has just been it was obviously on my bucket list of places that I want to visit, maybe within the next 5 to 10 years. I really would like to visit Australia. I've obviously been growing up as a kid. I grew up with the Crocodile Hunter and all the shows, and just seeing the wonders and the beauty of Australia, and of course also the dangers. Australia is, mind you, is a dangerous place. Lots of very dangerous animals, insects, and everything. So you always got to be mindful. You ever go to any place like that. But I am willing to brave the dangers in order to go to the Australian Zoo and to explore some of the outback, because you never know, if I could go to some of these areas and I could maybe see or hear one of these cryptids of Australia, and it would be pretty fascinating if I went to Australia and I did experience something interesting. Obviously that'd be happening like any time, but very interesting nonetheless. Excuse me. Wow, I've already. This is a problem that I have to try to work with, of either trying to get some more information to talk about these things, or to try to slow down my talking in a way so I don't go through all the information as quick, because unfortunately I've kind of gone through all of my notes already, and I didn't try expanding. I thought I had a good start at first, but then I kind of just went through some things too quickly, and And that was the one interesting thing that was going to be a little difficult with this episode, was that a lot of this stuff doesn't have a lot of information. So I would have to really dig deep and like, all right, what can I talk about here to really expand it, to really, talk about it more than, would be, because there really isn't a lot about some of these things. Yeah, like sure, the bunyip has a long history in Australia, even till today. Like being like, I I'm not sure if it's the national bird or not national bird. Oh my god, like the national animal, but it's something pretty important. That the fact that there's also, it's on its stamps. That adds a lot of, it adds a lot to it when you have a creature like this. You add it to your culture so deeply. You put it on a stamp. Now I'm pretty sure there are many different kinds of, probably Nessie for Scotland, and probably Bigfoot stamps, for the Pacific Northwest and probably other parts of the United States. And so, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool when you have like creatures that, supposedly don't exist, and they're so in deep into the culture that people either, just like love them, or like believe that they're more than just like a fantasy or a story. No, and I don't want to see, and I don't want to say what the next week is. I feel so silly that I've completely forgot about this cryptid. Like, I cannot believe it. And for some people who, might be paying attention of the cryptids I've talked about so far and everything, may have noticed, like, if you are well versed in the cryptozoology and the cryptids that do live in Australia, may have noticed that there is one cryptid that I have not talked about yet. And again, I feel so dumb and silly that I forgot about it. I'm probably gonna be flicking myself in the head for forgetting such a, to me, even to a very important. I think I would actually probably consider, like, up there as one of the most important cryptids in to date, just because of the the backstory of it, and all the different, all the different, like, modern day sightings of it and everything. Uh, it's also, I would even consider it's probably a very important cryptid too, but I I almost got myself there. I can't say why yet, but I would say it's a very important cryptid. And next week, because like that should be it, we will do a part 4 of our Australian Cryptid Tour, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying it so far. Instead of me going like, all right, talk about this cryptid, like Australia, it doesn't have a lot of cryptids. So like, okay, let's give the cryptids their time. Megalania first, then the Yowie, and then doing all these here, and then our fourth one we will have next week. And so, do you guys, enjoy episodes, like this, kind of like go like a path away of like, all right, let's do these and these and these and these and these. Now, I have thought about possibly doing the same thing for maybe Alaska. Alaska has got a lot of stuff going on with it, and maybe I might do Alaska at some point in a way. Actually, before I forget about this, I'm gonna write this down. Alaskan cryptids. There we go. So okay, so if you would be interested at, sooner rather than later of doing like a Alaskan cryptid tour, let me know in the comments down below if you'd be interested in that, because I've heard stories of stuff that's in Alaska. Obviously, Bigfoot and stuff like that, but there are some other interesting things in Alaska, and I think would be pretty worthwhile to talk about. So if you're interested, again, let me know in the comments below, and I would honestly, that'd be a pretty fun one to do. Thinking about some of the stuff I know now, and some of the things I really hope aren't real, but people say that they've seen them. So, we will see for sure. And yeah, it's gonna be another short one this week. Yeah, the Alley was a pretty short one last week, and now we're kind of going to this one here, and it's gonna be a little, it's gonna be a little short this week, and I really do try to aim for an hour. Hour is a good is a good amount of time to get, like, it's not nothing too long, but nothing too short. It's, a good normal podcast time. And back when I did this originally back in college on the radio show, you had like your hour time block, and you obviously, with that the only limited time you have, you obviously want to make use of every hour yourself, to the fullest possible. You want to use all the time you can. But this is my show now, and I can do whatever I want with it. I can make them as long or short as I want. Obviously, an hour being what I would lead to, but if there's sometimes that I just can't, I'm not going to make an hour for stuff I have, and I'm not just like rambling or just dragging out unnecessarily, then I'd rather not to if I can help it. And so I think we'll probably just gonna end it here. And yeah, sorry again. Sorry it's a little bit shorter than normal episode, but don't worry. Next week, woohoo, boy! The fact I remember this cryptid, next week is gonna be a good one for sure. So hopefully you come back next week for our for real though finale of our Australian Cryptid Tour. So I hope everyone had enjoyed the show. I hope everyone has a good day, a good weekend. And again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptotalk. And if you've seen something, know someone that's seen something, you want someone to tell your story. I haven't gotten to everything yet, but I would like to say I'm a pretty knowledgeable person when it comes to the amount of cryptids that are out here in the world. Knowledgeable, like, oh, I saw a thing that looked like this. What was it? It was probably a this or something along those lines. But if you need some sort of closure, you've seen something that you have no idea what you saw, and you want like some help, or someone that does, or a story that an interaction that you had, but you're like, I'm going to take it to my grave kind of thing. Send it to me. I would love to be your outlet, your person for questions, for help, and anything like that. And if you're listening, and I would definitely say this: don't discriminate someone who has seen something. If you know them to be truthful and you have no reason for them to be lying, and they say they saw something, don't discriminate them. You may not have to believe them, but don't make them pay or suffer just because they saw something that's like shouldn't be possible. Some people say that they're worried for their jobs because they don't want to lose their credibility from it, and that's unfortunate and sad. Some people have some very interesting stories or sightings or like evidence that will probably never see the light of day because people are terrified of it. And if you do email me at cryptidtalk91@aol.com, give me whatever name you want me to call you. For all for all we know, your name could be John. And you're like, hi, my name's Steve. And I would have no way of questioning, is your name really Steve? Like, whatever name you call me, whatever name you tell me, I'm just going to go with that. And at some point, if I ever get enough of these emails, I'll love to have some like episodes where I just read them off and stuff like that. Like, all right, here we got some stories here. Let's read them and then talk about them a little bit, and then move on to the next one. So that would be pretty cool. That's a goal, but obviously, I haven't. Unfortunately, have gotten no emails yet, but hopefully that will change in the beginning of August 3rd. I will be having a table at the Central Pennsylvania Paranormal Bigfoot Festival. They have a Facebook page. Go and follow it. I will be having a table there with some merchandise. I'll be selling some shirts and a bunch of and some little fun stuff here and there. This is my first time doing something like this, so I don't have a whole lot of different variety of stuff yet. But I got plans to do more stuff in the future. But shirts, I'll be getting some shirts soon, and I'll be getting the logo and all this fun stuff. So and it will be in Ellsburg, Pennsylvania. It's in the central part of Pennsylvania, and if you are going to the festival or happen to be near there and you're going, stop by the table. If not, I'm hoping that I'll get some new fans and I'll get some new listeners and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not expecting to be like, "Oh my God, you're Michael from Cryptid Talk." No, I'm not expecting anything like that. I in the world of cryptozoology and podcasts and everything, I'm a nobody. I'm no one barely knows who I am in a lot of this world. So, but hopefully, I get some more fans and some more listeners at the festival, because there was like 5,000 people I heard last year, and since there's gonna be even double the vendors and more food trucks than there was last year, they're expecting even more people to come to this festival. So I'm very excited, nervous and excited as hell for the festival. But so hopefully, if you're able to go there, if not, be sure to. I'll definitely be talking about it after the fact. So be sure, again, if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel and follow the Facebook page. And remember, keep your eyes and ears open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Madden. Have a good day, everyone, and stay squatchy.